Hi there, it's Anna Rosie Duck Designs here. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Now, I know on the previous video where I featured the Hey Chick stamp set, I did say that I would be back to share a card or two made using the stamps and the dies. If you've followed me for any length of time, you'll know that I am very easily distracted. So I have to be honest and say that I'm not back to share with you anything to do with chickens today. I had a card that I wanted to make using the new Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. So I was in the middle of doing that and I thought actually while I'm doing this I might just as well share it. So it's all still relevant because they're both products that are currently available. The chickens go on until the end of June, so there's plenty of time to get back to that. And I have since got my new mini stamping cut and emboss machine, so actually that's worked out quite well because I'll actually be able to use that during the video. So the chickens will be back on the next video, but I just wanted to feature the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set and the dies, and I'm going to use that in combination with the True Love Designer Series paper. Now I think I've shared this before, but just in case you've missed that, this is an absolutely beautiful designer series paper which is absolutely perfect for using as it is or adding colour to. So there's some really lovely floral images, and there's also some great background papers which when I flip the sheets over you'll be able to see, but I'm just doing the florals first. It's the ideal opportunity to get the stamping right markers out or the stamping blends. Now flipping that over, I think that is the one I'm using. I'm prepared as always, you can tell, but these are absolutely perfect as really nice background papers that really make your design on the top layers really pop. So there we go, that's the papers. Before we put the card together, I've basically got all the bits and pieces cut out and it's ready to basically stick together. So I just want to share with you the product before we actually put the card together. Now this is the Butterfly Brilliant stamp set and the coordinating dies. Now these are early release products from the new 2021 to 22 annual catalogue, which will go live on the 4th of May. But as I say, that is an early release products, so we're actually going to have a nice lot of time to actually get to know these products and use them. As always, I was kind of impatient. I thought it's on my desk now, I've got to use it. It was available as part of a promotion which featured 2 different designer series papers. Now the Butterfly designer series paper, which was one of them, has over the weekend sold out, so the actual collection, so the stamp set, dies and the 2 different design series papers are no longer available as a collection. You can still buy the Wood Effect designer series paper, and we'll be looking at that in another video, and you can obviously still buy the stamp set and the dies, but sadly the very pretty Butterfly designer series paper has finished. Anyway, moving on with what is available, we have got the stamp set. Now this is a one-piece stamp, and I've got to say that I have probably, well not probably, I haven't ever used a stamp of that size. We've had a number of background type stamps, probably not me if I'm honest, so I've never bought them. This is the first whole stamp like this that I've ever had, and so when I came to use it I discovered that I didn't actually have a block large enough for it. So learning from my mistakes, if you buy this stamp then, or it is a stamp, it's a stamp set, but it's one stamp. You need a block which is basically 6 inches by 4 7/8, which is the size of the F block in the catalogue. But a block, if you've already got a large block, then as long as it's that size, it will work with this stamp. So I've got this out last night and I'm going to use it, and discovered I didn't have a stamp that was big enough, or a block that was big enough. I improvised by using my E block, my I block and my D block. So where there's a will and all that, but I would recommend, and I'm certainly going to do it the next order I put in, and very fortunately as demonstrators we will soon be heading into that lovely season of pre-order for the new catalogue. So top of my list is going to be the correct block for this stamp set. You can actually get away with that, just the two. So I'm not going to demonstrate how I've used this because this is not the correct way of doing it, but all I am saying is that providing you've got fairly big blocks, the stamp will kind of hold them together, but this is not really the way forward. So hence I've done all the stamping before I've started. So I've stamped onto, this is a piece of balmy blue, so that is effectively what the stamps look like, just stamped onto a card. And I'm going to use this element as my background paper. Now if you want just 1 or 2 of the butterflies, then all you need to do is ink up whichever butterflies you want to use. So in this case I've decided I'd like to use those 2, so I've inked those up. The ink I've used is Seaside Spray. So I've basically stuck my ink across here, and I've just then stamped that down onto a piece of white card, and then I will have the dies ready to cut them out. Now obviously if you decide you just want the stamp and you don't want the dies, but you still want individual elements of the butterflies, then all you would do is stamp off, or stamp the ones, let's try this again, you'd put ink on the ones that you want to use, and then I would suggest that you mask the area where you don't want the other butterflies to appear, because if you can't, it's quite hard to put a stamp pad down and just cover the one butterfly that you want. You could use Stampin' Right markers, and you can be a lot more, you can just highlight the particular area that you want, but if you're using an ink pad, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But I will cover that in a later video when we're actually working with the right block. It's not quite the way we're supposed to be using this stamp. So as I say, we'll deal with that at a later stage, but I'm assuming now that I just want to cut these out. So that is those 2 elements. Now if we have a look at the die, or the dies rather, we've got a complete a whole die that will cut out the whole of the stamped image, which is brilliant if you want all of them. We've also got some other little dies here which I've got to be honest, had a lot of time to investigate what they do, but I'll cut them out, and looks a bit like a, dare I say, a brick wall. Could well be. I'll play with that. I'll come back to you on that. But we've got lots of little extra butterflies, and then we've got the single dies that coordinate with the actual stamp set, so we can cut them out individually. That one goes with that one. A jigsaw puzzle. And as anyone that knows me will know that I'm not great at jigsaw puzzles, don't have the patience, but there we go, I've just about managed that. So you can go with the individual dies, and then this will cut out just the outline. So you could cut out your outline, and then you could have your individual butterflies cut out as well, which will give you the detail of the cutouts. But again, we've got plenty of months to investigate this, so I'm just touching the surface today. But it's nice when we've got a product that's available that we can actually have a look at it and just get an idea of what we can do in the way of using it. And it will work so much better with the right equipment. So with the right stamp set, it will be amazing. Or the right stamp block rather, it will be amazing, I'm sure. So, put these back so I don't lose them. So this is available either separately or as a bundle, and I'll put all the details of the products on the accompanying blog post. So I will write a separate blog post with confirming the measurements and details of the products that I've used. So having put that away, it is the afternoon when I'm filming this. What can I say? I've used the coordinating die with that butterfly to cut it out. Now, depending on your embossing machine, with the old style big shops that we had, there was a precision platform that helped you to cut out the more intricate dies. I'm quite lazy and I just keep my magnetic platform on it at all times, so I've basically run this through my machine twice, so backwards and forwards, which will enable, it's cut a number of the elements out, and all I've got to do is just go around the butterfly and just poke out the elements that are meant to be cut out. And I'm using my piercing tool. You could use the brush, so the pickup tool has a brush that you can add onto it, and it will come with a little foam mat. There's 2 mats it comes with, and you just literally run the brush over your image that you've just die cut out, and it should take all the little bits out. But this is quite easy and quite therapeutic in a way, in a funny sort of a way. So I'm not using this particular butterfly in this card, but I think I will save that and use that on another card. So that's our butterfly. My apologies, I've just hit the tablet. It seems to be my latest trick on my videos. I'll have to do a sea themed one, and then you'll all feel like you're at sea and it's you're having the true experience. So I'm going to put that to one side and basically now just put the card together. And what I've done is I've got a piece of Magenta Madness that's cut at my normal 6x8 scored at 4 on the long side, or 15x20 scored at 10 on the long side, and I'm using that in the portrait style. I've got one piece of it will be basic white cardstock, and that is cut at 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 or 14.5 by 9.5 in the metric, and that is for the inside of my card. I've got, hopefully, a piece of the designer series paper that is cut at 1/2 inch by 4 inches or 1.5 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and I'm literally going to use that in the inside of the card just to embellish the white card that I'm going to write my message on. So let's do that first. So grabbing my stamp and seal, I'm going to go right along the whole edge of that, and then taking my white card, I'm just going to put that on the bottom, but I'm going to overlap it at both ends, and that is the point of cutting this slightly longer than I need, because that way, if this measurement is out in any way, if I've cut this exactly at 3 3/4 inches, then I could find myself with a tiny white area that isn't covered by the designer series paper. So by doing what I'm doing, or what I've done, I'm making sure that that piece of designer series paper covers the whole of the area that I want it to. And then I can just trim that off with a pair of scissors. I say this from experience because sometimes the measurements can be very slightly out, and suddenly that tiny piece of white margin that you can suddenly see doesn't look like a millimetre or half a millimetre, it just looks like the Grand Canyon. You know what I mean, we've all been there. So I'm going to centralise that in the inside of my card. There we go, and that is basically the inside of the card is done. It's going to be in the portrait style, and this is my butterflies, which started off looking like that, and I've just cut that down to 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, so that's approximately 8.3 by 13.5, and then I've got another couple of layers building that up. So I'm starting with the largest layer of 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, or 9.5 by 14.5, and that's going to go on the front. I've then got a piece of designer series paper which is cut at 5 1/2 by 3 1/2, or 9 by 14 centimetres, and then on the top, as I say, will go my piece of Magenta Madness with my butterflies, which have been stamped in Magenta Madness, and that is 5 1/4 by 3 1/4, or 8.3 by 13.5. So let's stick all these down. If you're using the new Stamp and Seal, I have said this, it's great, I've got used to it. I've got over snail disappearing, but you do find occasionally that it feels like the glue has disappeared. If that happens, just gently run it around the top there with your finger and it will reappear. Let me just centralise that. Then we're going with our designer series paper. Just centralise that on top of the piece of black card. And then finally I'm going to add my piece of Magenta Madness with my butterflies. So that's basically the card all put together, with the exception of a little bit of extra detail. So what I've done is I've cut out, using my favourite die set of all times, my layering ovals. So one of the larger crinkled oval dies I've used, and I've cut out a piece of vellum. I've cut out the butterfly as I showed you with this one, the blue one. I've done the same with this, but of course I've used some Wink of Stella on it. It had to be done, rude not to. And I've just put a little bit of Wink of Stella just around the wings, across the body here, and on these 4 little spots of pink here. And then with my bone folder, I've just taken the centre of the butterfly and just folded it upwards so it looks like it's flying. What I'm then going to do is attach the butterfly firstly to my piece of vellum, and I'm going to add that onto the vellum using some mini stamping dimensionals. So we only need half of one down here because the body's not that big. And the other bit that I've cut in half. Can pop along the other bit of the body. It'll take longer to get all the bits off of the stamping dimensionals than it did to put the card together. I can feel that happening. You could use glue dots, but I just want it to be raised a little bit off of the vellum, so that's why I've gone with stamping dimensionals. But the choice is yours. So going for roughly for the centre of this. So there's my butterfly. See a bit of a my dimensional there. I just want to try and trim that slightly. That will do. And then what I'm going to do is to attach the vellum onto here. I'm going to actually use some glue dots. Now the reason I've done it this way round is if I just put a piece of a bit of glue onto the card here, it's hard to know where the butterfly is going to end, and you could find that you've got some glue showing through the vellum because it is very, very thin. So the reason I've done, as I say, this way is that I can control now where I'm putting the glue dots before we add this to the centre of our card. So gently putting it down on my grid paper, I'm going to grab some glue dots. Try and grab some glue dots. And I can see obviously where the butterfly is. So I can just add my glue dots along that line because the body of the butterfly is going to cover those up. Obviously I don't want it falling off, so I'm going to be quite generous with my glue dots. I'm going right along the body where I've put stamping dimensionals. And then I'm going to add another couple just to be sure that there's enough sticky surface to attach to my card. I don't want the butterfly flying off before it gets to its recipient. There's another area up here I can add one, which is effectively the butterfly's head. So there I've got a whole line of glue dots here. I can just then tidy up my butterfly, bring his wings up again, and then just put it down on the front of the card where I want it. Now you could go centre. I'm going more towards the top because I've got a ribbon that I want to add. I can hear everybody gasping from here that I'm adding a ribbon, but I've actually found a ribbon that I can tie quite well. So I'm going to put this towards the top. And if you press down on the centre of the butterfly gently, that will be sticking your vellum to your card, and then you can rearrange your butterfly's wings. Turn it upside down. There we go. So to just finish this off, you could add some little rhinestones in there if you wanted to. I must admit, I did forget to bring those in. I was going to have a look at that and see what that looked like. But I'm going to stick with my little bow. Now that is, I think that's not a bad bow. By my standards, that is not a bad bow at all. And I've tied that using the glittered organdy ribbon, which is in the Annual Catalogue. Very, very pretty, and I've only recently bought it, although it's in the Annual Catalogue, but when I saw this designer series paper, it just sort of cried out for a nice glittery black ribbon, so I thought I would buy it and see how I got on with it. And I'm very, very pleased with it. Sorry, here we go again. So I'm just going to add that to my card at the bottom there. I now have two ribbons, the white polka dot tulle ribbon and this ribbon as well that I can tie ribbons with. It's not bows with. It's not me saying anything against any ribbon that you can buy from Stampin' Up. It's the ability, or my lack of ability, to tie an okay bow. I am officially rubbish at it. But there you go. There's hope for us all. So I'm just going to stick another glue dot on there for good measure. I'm just going to stick that down the corner there. And then all I've got to do is just tidy up the ends of the ribbon. Just cut that across there, and then same with this one. And there we have our finished card. Oh, I do apologise. Seriously, I need saving from myself. But there we go. So that is our first venture into the butterfly Brilliance stamp set. I'm so sorry. I've got lots of whistling and strange noises coming from behind me because Ollie is with me and he's actually dreaming and I'm struggling to keep a straight face, but there you go. All in a day's crafting with Rosie Duck Designs. So there we go. That is, as I say, our finished card. One thing I did want to say before I go, going back to the stamp set, when it arrives and you take the stamp out, it's not a set, it's as I say, a whole stamp. It will come with all these little bits in these little holes that are no longer there. Don't throw those away. Now this isn't my idea, this is something I've seen from other demonstrators on Facebook, so I cannot take any credit for it, but it's a brilliant idea to use these little offcuts from your stamp. So I will be back to share those with you, probably video after next, because I really must get back to the chickens. But yeah, if you buy this stamp, then please don't get rid of those, because there is actually a good use for them. So that is it. I am going. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that, and if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be absolutely wonderful as well. As I say, I will be putting a blog post together and I'll put the link to that on the front of the video. Everything is current, so you can purchase that from my online shop, so I'll put a link to that on the front of the video as well. There's also at the top now of my YouTube page, you can go directly, there's some links to my blog and to my shop, so it just makes life easier as well. So whichever way you want to use, you can go and find what you're looking for on either of those sites. So that is it. I will be back very soon, but until then, do look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.